What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a wonderful Friday night, 10:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am GunzPicks, and of course, DabyCab is going to join us shortly. He's on a live stream right now, but we'll let him come in soon. But I am joined by a guy that I need to introduce to the people here, my friends. They call him the coach. You can find him on Twitter at Brothers in Bets. If you don't know how to spell it, look at the name underneath the title. What's going on, my friend? Welcome for the first time on the Dad Boss channel. How you doing?
What's going down, Guns? Hey, man, I appreciate you allowing me to come on y'all's platform. What's going down, gamblers? Y'all already know it's the coach doing his thing right now. Ball. And I'm excited, man. Not college football, but college basketball. I'm excited, man. I'm excited to be, branching out, following the likes of my brother Marley Betts. Shout out to Marley Betts. Holla at you. That's my boy. And I'm ready to get these college basketballs, man. We eating right now. Went 3-0 on my free picks yesterday. I'm sitting at 37-18 on the year. I gave out one of my VIP picks this morning because I'm feeling good because I busted U-Wager over the head in the last 2 days, cashing out. Started with 100, cashed out 22. Got me a nice little sip on some yak. I'm going to take a shot, compliments of U-Wager one more time. And we're going to get into these picks, Gun. Let's do it.
Yeah, I got to shoot him out. Like I said, follow him on Twitter. He's trying to build the platform there. The dude only has like 400 followers. And I'm like, man, this is the sharpest MFer on the planet. I got to watch my language now, hearing that YouTube is going to dox people for swearing on their platform. But we're going to start this off right, and it's going to start out with my pick. We'll get to the coaches' picks in a minute, but I'm going to start this out with UNI versus Indiana State. They're playing at Holman Center, Terry Hunt, Indiana, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You got to check this one out. Now, hey, I'm going to be looking at UNI, Northern Illinois, plus the 5.5 as the play here, 1 unit special. Now, UNI 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 games, 5-1 against the spread in their last 6, 7-1 straight up in their last 8. So this is a team that is cooking with absolute fire right now. When you look at Indiana State, they've lost 5 straight, 1-4 against the spread in that span. But look at their last 26 games against the spread on this one, people. 6-19-1 against the spread, following a straight up loss. So this is a team that you never want to back in terms of your money and your finances on this team. Now, Indiana State's strength on this one is their shooting. They're ranked 25th in the country as field goal percentage. However, when you look at them shooting the three-pointers, they are 257th, 32.2% in that regard. Now, their 2-point percentage is what keeps them going. They are ranked number 2 in the country with that, 59.6%. But you got a UNI defense. They're not the best. They're kind of middle of the road, 149th in the country as far as defensive efficiency is concerned. But they don't allow second chance buckets. What I mean by that is they rebound the ball on the defensive side. They're ranked 8th as far as defensive rebounding percentage, where Indiana's offense of rebounding is atrocious. They are ranked 336th in the country as far as rebounding the ball. So what you got here is you have an Indiana State team that's going to have to make their shots because they're going against a UNI team that can rebound the ball on the defensive side. So with all that being said, all the statistics applied, we're going to be going with UNI, Northern Illinois, plus 5.5 as the play. Now we're going to be looking a little bit further in this one. I don't want to shade away from the coach with he's going to cut a damn promo here in a second, but I'm going to be going with Cincinnati and Houston in this one. I want to look at this game, 2:15 Eastern Standard Time start on this one. This is a tremendous game here. They're playing at Fertitta Center on this one. I probably got that pronunciation wrong.
Now you hit it right. No, you got it right.
Okay.
The Fertitta family, you got it right.
Yeah, I was worried about that one and that one because but I'm looking at Houston. Listen, Houston to me is the best team in the country when you look at their stats as far as KenPom is concerned. And as you know, if you follow me along, I am a numbers guy. Houston's one of the strongest teams in the country. They're ranked 3rd as far as adjusted defensive efficiency and 7th as far as adjusted offensive efficiency in the country. Now, they get the offensive boards as well. They're ranked second as far as rebounding the ball on the offensive side, and they suffocate you on the defensive side. They're ranked third, holding their opponents as far as the three, four, and they're ranked second in the country, 42.1% they hold with the two. So what you have is you just have guys that just know how to guard the guy that has the ball, which is the Houston Cougars in this one. But you look at Cincinnati adjusted efficiency on this one. So offensively, they're 85th in the country. Defensively, they're ranked 59th in the country as far as Ken Palm is concerned. And you also look at how Cincinnati's offense does with 2-point percentage on this one. They're ranked 177th. So you have this Houston team that is going to absolutely dominate this team, in my opinion. Also, you got to look at the matchup on this one. But every time Cincinnati and Houston matches up, you have to take Houston. Ride the streak. They've covered the last 8 straight versus Cincinnati. And Houston won the first matchup in this game, 72-59. They were at 9.5-point road favorites. Now you see them at home as a 14.5-point favor in this one. So the line correlation doesn't make sense with these two teams. So you have a Houston team already had their got busted in the mouth versus Temple 2 games ago. So I think this is going to be one of those come to Jesus moments, as they say. And you have Houston just going to be absolutely rolling through their conference in this one. So I love Houston in this one. -14 versus Cincinnati as a play. I want to give it to the coach for a second. What do you think about Houston this season? And what do you think about this game at all? Do you have any thoughts?
So if you look behind me, that ain't rock and roll. That's Houston. I'm in Houston. I'm a Houstonian. Houston is actually, what up, Don? Houston is actually one of my money-making plays. I follow this team. In fact, a lot of their philosophy that Coach Sampson brings to the game, I use for my high school team that I coach on the basketball court. I can't give you a official play for this one because this is one of my VIP plays to our subscribers. But I will say this: Houston, for the most part, has been cashing in on the first half. Second halves have always been a little shaky whenever they're playing against somewhat competition. I'm not going to say Cincinnati's like the best, but Cincinnati is competitive in the American Conference. But Houston's been slowing down just a little bit. I think the bodies are starting to get just a little bit worn down and starting to take opponents lightly in their conference just so they can get ready to run in a tournament. But they just been running out of gas lately, and they do need a refill. Gas is high right now. Houston could be pissed. Sampson could be pissed. But in the last 5 games, Houston hasn't been covering the first half like they need to. In the last 2 games, they've tied it, with Temple and who was it last week? A UCF team who was very underrated, man, that a lot of people don't know about. So I can't give an official play for this one because it is one of my VIPs for the weekend. But yeah, it's going to be a very good game going down 115 in the greatest state in the world, Texas. But yeah, if you like Houston, if you've been making a lot of money, you might want to continue to do that, but just be very careful. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. That's all the coach got to say for that.
The coach firing shots. That's what we want to see here on Breaking Ankles, episode number 2. But I'm going to skip around the board. I do have a play for the 3 p.m. slate, but I want to make sure I give the coach the proper distribution, like I'm hitting him a bounce pass on a back door that he was just hit with an absolute slam, buddy. Let's go into this one here. We're going to be talking about Arkansas and Baylor. Waco, Texas, Farrell Center. Shake-a-doo, shake-a-doo. As if you don't know who Scott Farrell is, I'm just giving you the impression here. But the coach has a first half play. What are your thoughts on this game, coach?
All right. So, first off, let me go ahead and give you all the actual factuals for both teams before I give you my thoughts. Arkansas is 2-6 in the last 8 games. The unders hit 7 out of the last 10. They are 14-6 straight up in the last 10 games, but 0-5 on the road, straight up in the last 5 games. The 2-5 against the spread in the last 7 games when played in the month of January, but 1-5 in the last 6 games whenever they play on the road on a Saturday. Some of my actual factors right now for Baylor: 4-0-1 against the spread in the last 5 games. They are 5-0 straight up in the last 5 games. 15-2 straight up in the last 17 games at the crib. 5-1 straight up in the last 6 games when played in the month of January. Arkansas does have a questionable right now with Malik with a foot injury right now, and Baylor's coming in this one strong. Now, one thing that I always say, Guns, on our show or any show that I'm on is I always tend to bet on teams that are trending up versus teams that are trending down. Arkansas, they started off good, looking great in the season. Then they hit a rough patch, losing 4 in a row. But then they picked up wins against Mississippi, who isn't very good this year, and LSU, who really is underwhelming, aren't that good this year. While Baylor, and we're talking about the Big 12, a lot of people will say this is the best conference in the nation right now, especially if you're watching ESPN. But they're trending up right now. They're on a 5-game winning streak. And we're talking about teams against West Virginia, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, who I know has not been having a good year. Oklahoma team who was sneaky good and sneaky competitive. And they took it to Kansas, which I made a lot of money on that one, on the 23rd, beating them 75-69. So if you've ever been to Waco, you already know there's only 2 things in Waco: Fat Ho Burger, which is a burger spot, and then Baylor Athletics. That place is going to be rocking. It's going to be something that Arkansas, unless they're playing in Kentucky, they haven't seen anything like this as far as the atmosphere. And Baylor is just striding up. They had their rough patch, but now they're trending up. And I got to take Baylor on the first half. Now, the line did open up at 5.5. Right now, a lot of money's coming in. You can see it. Or the odds makers just realize, hey, man, we kind of messing up with this line. It's at 4.5. I can't really see what the first half spread is, but I'm going to back them first half. I think it should be at -3. Now, everybody knows my rule. If the 2.5, if the spread is 2.5 or lower, man, don't stress. Don't stress. I don't want to think about scenarios, nothing like that. Just take the money line, throw a couple of extra dollars on it, and just take the money line so we can just get the victory. In this case, Baylor will take care of business first half, and I think it can get pretty ugly in the second half. So for the Big 12 versus the SEC Challenge, I'm rocking with Baylor first half spread for that one. Official play. Booked it.
Oh, baby. We love it here. Shots fired from the coach on this one. And actually, DabyCab, who's going to be joining us in a second, he's on a live stream with Pub Sports. He does like the same plays. So you're talking about alignment on the Breakin Ankles show. You have one here with Baylor first half. So please take it on this one. Don PLA in the chat. Any unders on this one do you like tomorrow? I'll pass to the coach. Do you like any of these totals, or are you a side guy?
All right, so look, Don, you already know this, man. I don't do totals. That's more of a Marley Betts and my boy Mikey Hova. That's more of their thing. I don't do the totals. It's been a while since I do a total. And only times I really do totals in any kind of game besides football is if it's in the fourth quarter and I have to take the under. But I don't do basketball totals like that anymore. So I don't have a play on that one. On any unders. I don't do unders for basketball, really. Now, it's been a while. Now, my boy Mikey Hova, shout out to Mikey Hova. He was fooling with Tease for a little bit. He is the unders and WNBA guru. He could probably tell you better than I could, but I don't do unders. I'm sorry, Don. I'm sorry, my boy. I don't do that.
Hey, Dan, we're just playing. Don, PLA, we are just playing with sides on this one. And speaking of sides, we're going to move into a little thing we call the dog of the day.
Hey, real quick.
Now, you're talking about
real. That sound effect at the end of that was that was from a video game. That was from. It sounded like, I don't know where that sound effect come from. The whistle and then that's a video game.
Basically, what it came from a website that gave me sound effects that won't get me kicked off of YouTube. Is
Okay,
pretty much
okay.
where I
I
will
got
stay
you.
with that one. But we're moving into the dog of the day, and that dog of the day is coming from GunzPicks on this one, and we're looking at UAB versus Rice. This game kicks off at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tudor Fieldhouse, Houston, Texas. I'm playing with a lot of Houston.
You messing fooling with the Houston, man. You might need to move down here.
I might have to go to
Texas is cheap.
Texas.
Texas.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. I might have to go and get myself a big 10-gallon hat and some boots and go big belt buckle style and
So
really so cliche, and I'll look like a tourist going into this one. But hey, I'm liking the Rice Owls on this one versus UAB, and I'm not talking about football on this one. I'm talking about basketball. Listen, you actually look at UAB with this one. I feel like this is a public darling, and this team is just completely overvalued. I'm talking about the Blazers here. They've struggled lately. They're 1-8-1 against the spread, 5-5 straight up in their last 10 games. And you got a Rice team that is 8-2 straight up, 5-3-1 against the spread. Of course, I'm when I'm talking about against the spread, I'm missing one game, but there's one game that just didn't have a line on it because they're playing this remedial team, but they've covered their last three. Now you actually look at the matchup on this one, and I'm talking about Ken Palm here. Rice offense is ranked 84th as far as offensive efficiency is concerned, where and they're 22nd in field goal percentage, 55.8%. In 2-point percentage, they're ranked 19th in the country. Now you got to look at the Rice defense. They're not great. I'll give you that one. They're ranked 255th in adjusted defensive efficiency, but they're facing the UAB team that is ranked 247th in 2-point percentage and 109th in 3-point percentage. So really, from a defensive standpoint, it doesn't matter. The offensive efficiency I'm kind of focusing on in this cap. Now, UAB does have a good offensive rebounding team. They're ranked 9th. But Rice is very serviceable as far as defensive rebounding. They're ranked 68th in the country. So, there's going to be a little bit of yin and yang on this game as far as the rebounding is concerned, second chance points. But I think Rice's offense will be the key on this one. So I need them to make shots like the numbers tell me they're going to. They're playing at home. They're playing what I consider an overrated team, and you're getting plus points in this one, plus 2.5 if you get it now. I think this is going to be something that you wake up in the morning and that number is going to drop on this one. And I will continue fading the Blazers until they actually show me something on this one. So I'm going to be taking Rice plus 2.5, and that is a 1-unit play for my goal. So, because we don't have the dabs in the chat, we're going to move on to a play by the coach. And we're going to be moving into Boogie back to Texas, Tennessee. Rocky Top, Tennessee, if you want to sing this one out here. This is going to be a gameplay on this one. Thompson Bowling Arena, Knoxville, Tennessee, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be electric in the Big 12. Coach, I will pass it to you. What do you think about this play?
All right, well, let's get to these notes real quick that I do have. Texas 5-10 against the spread in the last 15 games, 17-3 straight up in the last 20 games. But 0-5 against the spread in the last 5 games whenever they're playing against an opponent in the SEC. 5-1 straight up in the last 6 games in the month of 10 straight up in the last 6 games when they play on a Saturday. But 2-9 in the last 11 games when they play on Saturday on the road. Now for Tennessee, 5-2 against the spread in the last 7 games, 8-1 straight up in the last 9 games, 19-1 straight up in the last 20 games at the crib. 5-1 against spread in the last 6 games when playing against a Big 12 conference opponent. Straight up in the last 7 games when playing in the month of January. Here's how I feel, man. I'm going to ride with Texas on the full game plus 7.5. It's at 7.5 right now. It's probably going to go down a lot lower because if you're looking at this game, you're going to see one thing. The competition level, once again, that Texas has been playing against, especially in the last 10 games, is far more superior than what Tennessee has been dealing with. Okay. We're talking about a Texas team that has lost to Kansas State, who we see they're doing a great job with possibly the coach of the year right now. They lost to Iowa State in Ames, Iowa, who everybody knows is pretty damn tough to play out there. But they picked up victories against Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Texas Tech, but again, they're having a down year. TCU team that took it to Kansas State.
Oh, did we lose the coach on this one? I think we might have lost the coach. We'll see if we can get him back on this one to talk about his plays. But wow, we're getting to the coach. Let's go into one of my plays. I got one more play for you guys, and this is the late night degenerate special that I call here on this show. Let's talk about Pepperdine versus Lower Marymount. This is 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Gersten Pavilion, Los Angeles, California. If you're going to be staying up for this one, please do so because we have a nice bet on this one, and I'm going to be going with Lower Marymount on this one. LMU, and look, Pepperdine is just a team you don't want to back at any point. Okay, this is one of those ones you can just make this bet and just take a nap. Okay, Pepperdine 2-8 against the spread in their last 10 games, 1-7 against the spread in their last road games this season. 1-9 straight up in that span, by the way. So this is a bad Pepperdine team here, folks. But we look at the LMU side on this one: 8-2 against the spread at home, 7-2-1 against the spread in their last 10. And you have Pepperdine's really their issue this season. They can't defend the ball well. They can't defend anybody as far as their shooting is concerned. They're ranked 240th in defensive field goal percentage, 280th in defending the three, and this is just a team that sucks at defending altogether. So this is why this team can't cover spreads, because when you have wide open shots and nobody's coming and contesting your shots, guess what happens? Teams make shots. All right, so you got to look at LMU on this one. 39th in the country as far as field goal percentage is concerned, 83rd in the country as far as three-pointers, and 46th in the country in two-pointers. We got the coach back. He had a little bit of internet issues. We'll get back to your pick. I just got, I'm gonna give.
I was talking.
I know you were cutting a damn promo, and I felt bad. But I went to my next pick. I'm giving the late night degenerate special. Thanks for everybody that's going to be watching this one. It's going to be a wild show on this one. But I want to go back into the cap on the Pepperdine LMU game. So when you look at Pepperdine offense, middle of the road basically, but weak at offensive rebounding. They're ranked 281th as far as KenPom is concerned, where LMU is a great defensive rebounding team. They're ranked 37th. In that regard. So basically you're playing a Pepperdine team, and like I remember like betting Pepperdine like a couple years back, and the reason why I always back them is because they make free throws. This team can't make free throws like they used to. I think they lost players that can actually shoot. So I'm going to be going to LMU, and I think you can take them at -10. Go find that line right now. Get LMU late night degenerate special on a Saturday, and just fall asleep if you're on the East Coast, and wake up with cash in your pockets. But let's go back to the cap.
Let's go back
of Texas, Tennessee. I'll pass it to the coach. What are you doing?
All right, man. So look, man, because this has actually happened ever since we had bad weather. Internet companies messed up on my internet. What was the last thing the people's heard? What was the last thing you heard? Because I was going, man. I was feeling it too. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm over here going. I was like, it's a little too quiet.
Yeah, I would say you're probably 3/4 through the cap. So I don't know about your notes on that one. I would say percentage-wise, 3/4 through the cap. If you have to repeat yourself, guess what? 4 people, you're going to hear a repeat. Let's go.
All right. So I'm just going to kind of go quickly on this one. Actual factuals again. Texas 5-10 against the spread in the last 15 games. but they're 17 straight up in the last 20 games, 5-1 straight up in the last 6 games played in the month of January, 6-0 straight up in the last 6 games when playing on a Saturday. But what scares me is their own 5 against the spread in the last games against the SEC conference opponent. Now for Tennessee, 5-2 against the spread in the last 7 games, 8-1 straight up in the last 9 games, 19-1 straight up in the last 20 games at the crib, and 6-1 straight up in the last 7 games in January. 5-1 against spread in the last 6 games against a Big 12 conference opponent. Now, back to what I was going at. The competition level right now that both of these teams have been playing, I think Texas has had a better and a tougher opponents in the last 10 games to oppose to Tennessee. Texas has 2 victories against Oklahoma State, who's pretty good. West Virginia, who at any moment they could be good or bad whenever their defense wants to play with the full court press. A loss to Iowa State in Ames, who everybody knows is pretty tough to play in Ames when the crowd is rocking. A victory against Texas Tech, TCU, Oklahoma State. A loss against Kansas State that came out of nowhere, but now we are starting to see that they got the coach of the year and that they're pretty good. And that coach actually has experience playing against this Texas team because he was at Baylor for the long run. Oh, they beat Oklahoma, they're good. They can have their moments, but they're real competitive, and they actually might beat who they play in a tournament in a challenge tomorrow. Excuse me. But Tennessee, here's who Tennessee's been winning against. They beat Georgia, who Georgia just came off an emotional victory. I respect that victory because Georgia's been pretty good this year and been making me a lot of money. They caught them at a bad moment, coming off an emotional comeback victory. They beat them 70-41. I respect that. I don't respect the victory against LSU because they trashed this year. Mississippi State is trash this year. They lost to Kansas at home, and that game wasn't even close. Kansas had their way. Kentucky had their way from out the gate, and they won that one 63-56 against Tennessee in Tennessee's home crib. They got a victory against Vandy, who's kind of sneaky good, sneaky inconsistent team. You just don't know which team you're going to get. A terrible South Carolina. Another victory against a terrible Mississippi State team. A victory against Ole Miss, who's down. Austin Peay, and before that, they lost against Arizona 75-7. So I say this to all say I'm riding with Texas with the points. We don't need them to win. We just need them to cover. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if they go in there and they get that victory against Tennessee. So official play, Texas plus 7.5. Book it, people. Book it.
And by the way, that is full alignment with the guy, my co-host, the DabyCab, but he's going and riding the first half. So if you want to make 2 bets on this one to support this group, I would say first half and game per DabyCab and per Brothers in Bets. If you don't follow him on Twitter, if you just saw this show, better follow him now. God damn it. This guy wants to grow on Twitter, and I say he is one of the sharpest guys in college basketball on YouTube, but we need to make him the sharpest one on Twitter as well. Let's move on to the next game here, folks, and we're going to be moving on to a rivalry Big 12 matchup on this one because it's weird. Actually, you know what? It's not Big 12 because the Big 12 is playing the SEC this weekend. Let's move on to the 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Why did I say Big 12 on this one? I got too excited on this one. I saw too many cases.
Big 12, Big 12 versus Kentucky, baby. It's the challenge.
It's the challenge. That's right. It's the SEC. It's the Big 12. It's a challenge. And these 2 teams are playing here at Rupp Arena, Lexington, Kentucky. I'm sure there's going to be an Ashley Judd wearing a Kentucky jersey on this one, supporting the team. But are we thinking Kansas or are we thinking Kentucky? I will pass to the coach. What are your thoughts on this game?
All right, let's get to my actual factions before I really give you my thoughts on this game. For Kansas, they're 0-5 against the spread in the last 5 games, 16-4 straight up in the last 20 games, 1-4 against the spread in the last 5 games against Kentucky, 4-2 straight up in the last 6 games against Kentucky, but 2-7 against the spread in the last 9 games against an SEC conference opponent, 1-5 against the spread in the last 6 games in the month of January, but 9-1 straight up in the last 10 games when playing on a Saturday, and 5-2 straight up in the last 7 games when playing on the road on a Saturday. For Kentucky, 4-1 against the spread in the last 5 games, 4-1 straight up in the last 5 games, 4-1 against the spread and straight up in the last 5 games. Excuse me. The Duce is catching up to me. 6-1 against the last 7 games in the Big 12 Conference against a Big 12 Conference opponent. 11-3 straight up in the last 14 games in the month of January, and 8-0 straight up in the last 8 games when playing on a Saturday at the crib. And we're talking about a primetime game for this one, which typically in the past it was a top 5 matchup between both teams. Now, Kansas, they do have some injuries that are nagging, but these fellas should be playing. You got Cuffy, and they're both questionable. While Kentucky, Collins, he is questionable with a foot injury. Now, let's go back to what I said earlier. I like to bet on teams that are trending up versus teams that are trending down. And right now, Kansas, even though these are great teams that they've lost to, they're on a 3-game losing streak in the hands of Kansas, Kentucky, and Baylor. So now they got to turn around and go on the road in a very hostile opponent in the South. That's a 4-game winning streak against Tennessee, who's pretty good, who's been playing pretty good. Texas A&M, who's a sneaky good SEC team, and a victory against Vanderbilt that if you don't come with your game, like I said earlier, they'll pop your ass. I'm going to ride with Kansas on this one, -1. Now, if the money line is sitting at -120, then I might as well just take the money line so that I don't get a push, because you know how college basketball could be. But I like official play Kansas -1. I feel confident. I feel confident enough that they'll cover. They should win by 5 against a Kansas team who's suffering 3 losses. That fingers are starting to point amongst players, not coaches. But if you've been in certain situations, especially basketball, you know you got to control your players, because they get this. He doing too many threes, or he's not passing it, or this and that. This is a situation that Kansas hasn't been in a very, very, very long time, losing 3 games in a row, then having a back door and go on the road against a team like Kentucky. Come on, man. I'm not riding with the Big 12 on Kentucky as official play, Guns. That's my play. And we should just sip on that, and we can fire off some shots if you want to.
Yeah. Oh, I love the energy on the first time on the Dad Bodge channel. The coach at Brothers in Bets. If you don't follow him on Twitter, I know some of you beautiful bastards are following us on Twitter. So let's take a shot together with the coach for the first time inaugural. He absolutely killed it. Before we get to best bets, let's take a drink.
Thank you, Wager.
Zoom.
Thank you, Wager. Hey, 37 and 18 on my free plays. I gave out a free VIP because I was feeling friendly, because I got a nice little payout from you, Wager. And that was who was my pick? St. Louis on the money line. They took care of business. They even covered.
Great play.
Let's keep this thing
I was
rolling,
on the
man.
other
Let's
side on the spread, and I was sweating out Davison driving down the court, and I got a bad shot at the end, but it's all good because I think we're gonna have a good day overall. But let's talk best bet. Best bets. All the and this when I talk about this one, I didn't remind Coach. It's the best bet that you've already given out to the people. So out of the ones that I've given out, I love Rice plus 2.5 versus UAB. I gave you the stats on this one. I think Rice matches up perfectly well versus this UAB Blazers team. I think that is my best bet of the day on Saturday. What do you think, Coach? What's your best bet that you've given out to people?
I could easily go with that Kansas because it makes a lot of sense. But man, this Baylor team is pretty scary, man. When they get to clicking, I think they had, like you said earlier, a come to Jesus moment. That moment that I need these Golden State Warriors to come to in the next 6 minutes. But I think my best bet is going to be the Baylor first half. Get it rocking. Let's get in and let's get out. That's my best bet. Yep. I can easily go Kentucky, but I'm going to ride with Baylor.
And if you actually look at the hat that I'm wearing right now, 5 minutes before this game starts, I believe, I do lean, and it's not an official play for me. I do lean Air Force in this one. Why? Because I have the hat, and I do believe that like they are going to get over their struggles. They have been struggling lately, but I think the line has got egregiously high versus this New Mexico team. Plus 13, plus 12.5 on this one. So I would think that it's probably gotten beyond the point of buy early. So, hey, we've given out some beautiful plays on this one. If you missed them, don't worry about it because guess what? If you follow at GunzPicks, you follow the at Brothers in Bets, you see the spelling underneath the name. If you don't know what the spelling is, I will be retweeting the stream on Twitter, and I will post the link as like probably an hour before tip off on a lot of these games. So please follow along if you don't, and if you want to watch this thing later. And I see a lot of you beautiful bastards still watching this now. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you just saw me on the Pub Sports stream, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because we have tons of content that's going to be coming up in the future and a few beautiful announcements as we go along. But until next time, episode number 3 for the college basketball breaking ankles show with myself and Dabby. Dabby, of course, on another stream right now, but it's all good because we can carry the show without him, and I'm sure it's going to come along. We're going to have scheduling issues. All good. Thank you, the coach. We will definitely have you back, probably a lot on this show. So if you don't know him,
Appreciate
you're
it, man.
about to know him because this bastard knows college basketball. You killed it today. I appreciate it. Till next time, peace.